All right. Well, what's going on, everybody? This is Aaron Ramadanov of PWPNation.com. We are here to review or preview WWE SummerSlam and, of course, NXT Takeover Brooklyn #3 tonight. With me, I have Crazy Bill Shannon, John Damaselli, and, of course, Toph. And we are here to obviously preview everything that's going to happen this week. SummerSlam, and then go from there. We'll go into NXT TakeOver a little bit later on in the show. Not a polished product. We're just going to be kind of shooting the breeze and just talking wrestling and previewing SummerSlam and TakeOver. So let's start with the kickoff shows. Now, I went on WWE.com. I wrote down all the matches, and these are the kickoff matches that WWE.com has laid out for us. Who knows if the card will change or not, but these seem to be these would be the kickoff matches for tomorrow night. The first one we have up on the board here is the Cruiserweight title, Akira Tozawa versus Neville. Obviously, Neville lost his title this past week on Raw. We'll see what they do here. Bill, let's go to you first on this one. What do you think for this kickoff match on at SummerSlam tomorrow night between Tozawa and Neville?
I mean, at first, it doesn't surprise me it's the kickoff. Like, can we give Neville a little respect and actually put him on a pay-per-view? Obviously, they're starting to care about 205, otherwise the title change wouldn't have happened on a Raw to boot. But anyways, I think Tozawa is going to walk out with a victory again.
Right, yeah. I mean, I pretty much agree with everything you said. I mean, I don't know why I feel for Neville, because I actually said the other day to somebody, I think it might have been Caden or somebody, but I said, having this division to combat with Neville, and I think that was a lot of the issues that we had with Aries and why Aries ended up leaving the company in some form or fashion, because this cruiserweight division really doesn't have very much. I'm looking for heat or any type of readiness to be taken any type of seriously. It's being put on the pre-show kind of really shows how they view this division. That red hot title win, I think so. I thought the crowd was really hot for Tozawa winning the title. Now on the cruiserweight on the pre-show. Kind of takes away from what they did on Monday. What do you think, JCD?
I was more surprised by the title change on Raw. I thought for sure if you were going to do a change, SummerSlam would have been the place to do it. I liked the way Neville appeared. What was that, Tuesday night during 205 Live? He had the whole, my world has been taken away from me. He had that look like he hadn't slept in 24 hours, whatever it was. I mean, the problem with the division is, and maybe now it will change now that they popped the belt to the Tozawa, is that ever since Neville got the belt, it was, okay, literally month after month, just random challenger after random challenger, Aries excluded. I mean, I think with the match being on the pre-show, I think that's actually more of a detriment to Tozawa than it would be to Neville. As far as what I think is going to happen is, I thought Neville was the money of the division. I still think it. So I can see Neville somehow getting the belt back here.
Toph, your thoughts on this match here?
I was searching online. I was trying to find exactly what if the pre-show was on the DVD last year. Does anyone know?
No, I don't think
for WrestleMania.
Those have been
for SummerSlam. I
don't think it was.
Oh, for SummerSlam. I don't think the pre-shows have been included now.
Okay, because I know the pre-show was not included on the DVD for Mania this year. So, yeah, I'm not gonna rant about the Cruiserweight division. It's whatever. So, my prediction, I'll predict. I guess I have no choice but to predict Tozawa to win. It would be dumb to switch. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's any other reason. I mean, maybe they did the title change to get people buzzing, to get people talking, because nobody was talking about 205 Live beforehand. That's a possibility. But I like the Titus brand. It's cool. Is it the hottest thing in the world? No, but it's different. And like JCD's theory a few weeks ago, and the Titus brand is just kind of a plot device to incorporate cruiserweight guys with everybody else in the roster. So I'll predict Tozawa to retain, I guess.
Yeah, as far as my prediction, I'm actually going to go with Neville here because I think, and like JCD said, or I think it might have been Bill, but one of the others, one of you said it. I feel like Neville is the division, and I don't know with Tozawa going forward. I don't know if you have anybody to put him up against. I mean, you can go with Daivari or TJP or someone like that, but kind of this division. And I feel like they, like you said, Toph, I feel like they changed the titles on Raw just to give it some buzz, give something to this division that's kind of been lacking. And I think they might just go right back to Neville with the championship. He finds some way to win. He uses an underhanded tactic or something, unless they want to continue with the Neville that we saw on 205 Live. With the he's distraught over losing the title. If they want to continue that storyline, that's fine too. I could see Tozawa finding a way to win here too, and then continuing this feud into the next month or so. But yeah, I just like I said earlier, I just don't understand having this big title win on Raw. All the you probably got the most buzz around this division since the very beginning of it, and now you kind of put these guys on the pre-show, and they're going to be kind of lost in the shuffle. So, so I have Neville. Bill, who did you have?
I had Tozawa.
Tozawa for Bill. JCD.
I had Neville.
Neville and Toph, you had Tozawa, right?
Yeah, I have Tozawa.
Okay. All right. Next pre-show match, we have the Hardy Boys and Jason Jordan versus the Miz Taraj. This match was kind of thrown together over the last couple of weeks. The Hardy Boys are obviously in to get some kind of rub off the Hardys onto Jason Jordan, which is okay with me. Has kind of won me over the last couple of weeks. I started off thinking, oh boy, we got the Geek Squad here with Axel and Dallas and Miz, but the Miz, I got to give it to the guy. He really is able to find a way to around. I don't know how much of an elevation Dallas and Axel have gotten in the last couple of weeks, but I think the Miz has done a really good job of making this stable feel somewhat legitimate in some form or fashion. So Toph, what do you got for this match here, and what are your thoughts on this overall feud?
I think the Hardys and JJ will go over. I don't really have any thoughts on the feud. It's just kind of there. Miz deserves better. When he was on SmackDown earlier this year, I was hopeful that perhaps in the later half, maybe he could be in conversation for being a WWE champion. But there's no way he'll be anything less than just a footnote on Raw. There's too many monsters there. So, but he's a company guy and he'll do what he's asked. So, but I'll predict JJ and the Hardys to go over.
Okay, Bill. Bill, what do you think?
What the hell, man? What the hell? SummerSlam, the second biggest show of the year, and the IC title is not being defended. There's no get the. I know JCD has his kid, so I'm trying to keep it calm. I kind of really. I love The Miz. The Miz is doing a great job. I really hate this concept of throwing Jason Jordan in with the Hardys because everyone loves the Hardys. So obviously they're going to love Jason Jordan after this. Get out of here. They're going to pick up the win. The Miz Taraj, Bo Dallas is going to eat the pin. That guy sucks. He looks like a stupid tampon. There's no IC title on the line at SummerSlam. It's complete and utter bullshit. And the Hardys and Jason Jordan come out on top.
All right. Well, JCD, try to top that.
Well, I agree with Bill, and it looks like they're going to play that into a storyline. Miz did something where I think it was on WWE.com that he's blaming Kurt Angle for the title not being defended at SummerSlam. So we'll see what happens with that. The only reason why I think they're doing this match is because Jordan has to get a win over The Miz to set him up as a contender, and they didn't even do that Monday night. Jordan didn't pin anybody. I think it was Jeff Hardy who got the pin. I'm not saying Jordan's going to pin Miz tomorrow night, but Jordan's got to he's got to pin somebody tomorrow night. And I really think this match was a case of, oh, shoot, we screwed up Monday, and we got to redo it. And we can hide it on the gauze of the fact that the Miz Taraz wants a rematch.
Right. I just want to really quickly get our thoughts on Jason Jordan as a whole. Obviously, it's a brand new kind of gimmick for him. Obviously, he's associated with Kurt Angle now, and he's got partially Kurt Angle's music when he comes out. And I just want to get everyone's quick thoughts on character so far. So, Bill, what do you make of it so far?
I'm not a fan. I mean, he's just, I don't know, man. He's been doing Kurt Angle-esque stuff ever since NXT. He's been very Kurt Angle-esque.
What?
I don't know. I mean, he could surprise me. He could do something in the near future that really turns around and impresses me. But as of right now, he's just kind of there.
Right. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think the intentions were good. I think they really are trying to get him over, and I think they thought putting him with Kurt Angle or associating him with Kurt Angle would do just that, just considering how athletic he is. He's got a great look. He was part of this tag team who was really popular in NXT. So intentions are good.
The crazy. Yeah, I'm sorry, Aaron, to cut you off there. The crazy thing is, I just wanted to throw this out there. I sat down and watched the new episodes of the Southpaw Regional Wrestling. That he was in there, and what he did with that for just those few moments showed me that there's something to this guy. He has charisma, and there's something holding him down, something keeping him from letting it out on TV.
Right. Yeah, and that was, if we remember, that was a lot of the problem he had in NXT, where he just didn't have that type of charisma to be able to be on his own, and which was the main reason why he was put with Chad Gable. So, Toph, your overall thoughts on the Jason Jordan character so far?
The main criticism that I noticed about him and NXT is he works the same style in every match he does. Like every match he had with Chad Gable, it was like Gable would do the wrestling, and then JJ would come in with the hot tag. The straps are down, and he's crazy, just suplexing people. And he would do it like every match. And when you look at old school like Kurt Angle, old school Jerry Lawler, they didn't let the strap down and go crazy every match. They would do it for like the big matches. But JJ would do it literally every match. It didn't matter if it was a takeover match, a regular NXT TV match. He was doing it on SmackDown when they got caught up. He was doing it during the pay-per-views. Like, he literally does it every match. There's no rhythm. Like, real top guys can work a different style. They don't have to be like, I'm going to suplex you every match, and that's what he does. It's kind of boring. When you take that and you combine it with the Kurt Angle thing, and then you look at Chad Gable, who's just kind of struggling, not really doing anything on SmackDown. I'm not saying we're going to get the second coming of Roman Reigns, but I could definitely see fans getting resentful towards this push and perhaps turning on him down the road. But I don't think we're there yet. If we do get there, or if it's starting to approach, I might give a warning, but I could see that happening down the road. I could see fans getting resentful and turning on him.
Well, that's the thing. They definitely have started doing that in some cities, in some towns, in some arenas they've been going to, and I think it's partially, and I don't want to connect it to to bring Bailey into this, which I don't. There really is no connection, but in some form, I think they're booing more of the booking of him and the entire, like, for example, when people were booing Bailey during that segment a couple weeks ago, where she was just like, she was dumbfounded as to why they were booing her. I think fans, when they're in the arena, are booing more of the storyline, or even the things that's going on in the ring, as far as I don't think they're booing Bayley. I don't think they're booing Jason Jordan the person, because they liked Jason Jordan when he was part of the tag team of American Alpha. I think they're more so booing the idea. Same thing with Roman Reigns. When Roman Reigns was in the Shield, they loved Roman Reigns. Now that he's by himself, and boo him. So I think he's going to. I think you're right. He's going to catch some of the Jason Jordan treatment. JCD, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think the one thing here that they have with Jordan that I don't want to repeat what everybody says, but I figure I'll bring something different to it, is they always have a way out that you could turn him heel and have this be like, I guess you can't call it a ruse because Angle acknowledged the relationship, but you can always turn him on Angle, and if Angle's going to work like a comeback match against somebody, it could be a heel Jordan at the end of the day. As far as right now, though, it's too early. I mean, would you be more upset if he was getting the IC title shot at SummerSlam and being positioned to beat The Miz? Or should we look at it as, okay, well, at least you could tell they're building to it, maybe in September, maybe in October, so they're not necessarily shoving them down our throats. I don't know. I feel like they're kind of in a catch-22 with however they go about doing this.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, it's not like he's being positioned in the main event or anything. He's on the pre-show. So, again, I think it's a wait and see. We'll see what happens. I think we all have the Hardys and Jason Jordan going over here, just the baby faces going over, and I think Jordan will probably pick up the victory as well. So let's see. Next pre-show match we have is the New Day versus the Usos for the tag titles. Again, a little shocked this is on the pre-show. I mean, I know we've seen this match 1,000 times in various incarnations when the Usos were babyface and now they're heels, and we've seen it a bunch of times. But I will give these two teams credit. They always put on a good match. I never walk away from a New Day and Usos match saying, wow, that was really disappointing and I really don't want to see them wrestle ever again. I mean, I always walk away saying that was fine, that was good, that was great, however the match went. JC, let's go to you. Do you think who picks up the victory here, and what do you think about this feud so far?
I think the feud has been fine. I think whoever picks up the win might actually tie into what happens in the NXT tag title match, because I mean, if the Usos win, okay, then it's another round of matches with the New Day. But if New Day beats the Usos, I mean, who else is there to feud other than probably whoever loses Sanity, AOP getting called up to the main roster? I mean, I might be reaching there, but I mean, I don't know. Does New Day Ascension work for anybody? Does New Day, Breezango work for anybody? I mean, I don't know,
Yeah, it's tough because the division is so depleted that you can't have anybody just shuffle in right now. I mean, as far as the people on the roster right now. So that is a really good point that we might see a call up of one of these tag teams, whether it's Sanity or AOP. But who's your pick? Do you have the Usos or the New Day here?
I'll go Usos because I guess worst case scenario, it gives them another month or two of rematches. And
yeah,
then
very
Usos
true.
also again have the option of going back to Breezango.
Yeah. Yep. Toph, what do you think?
I'll go with the Usos here.
All right, moving on. Bill?
I'm going with New Day, and JCD hit the nail on the head, man. Why not let the New Day win? The Usos can do whatever. They're going to have phenomenal promos, phenomenal matches against any team. They don't need the belts in the mix. Why not have New Day win, and in the next couple weeks, Authors of Pain show up after they lose the tag titles to Sanity?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be perfect. And I have the New Day as well. I think the New Day retain and they move on from the storyline in general. And the New Day move on to somebody else, whether that's AOP, whether it's Sanity. I think Sanity would make more sense. I think AOP needs a lot more time in NXT. At least Sanity, you have Eric Young, who's been around the business for a long time. Killian Dane, who's very polished, Alexander Wolf, who's incredibly underrated, and Nikki Cross, who you could bring up as well. So I think Sanity is very possible that they come up in the next couple of weeks to feud with the New Day. So let's move on to the main card. That's what we've been waiting to do. So let's see. The first match I have here is Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt. Now, it's been interesting to say the least. Last week on Raw, we actually saw a match between these two where Bray Wyatt picked up the victory and poured a bunch of paint, acid, who knows what it was.
Hibiscus acidic liquid.
There we go. Perfect. When Michael Cole started to try to sell me on that, I just started laughing my ass off. He was trying to sell me on it was burning him, and oh my God. So nonetheless, Bill, your thoughts on Balor versus Wyatt, and who do you have winning?
Look, I love Bray Wyatt. I'm so disappointed with most of his booking the past couple years. But I think the match is going to be amazing. But there's absolutely no freaking way that the Demon returns and takes a loss. Absolutely no way. They're out of their minds if they would do that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have Finn Balor here as well. I don't think they're going to have Finn lose as the Demon. And Bray, again, is going to take another loss on a big show and probably lose this feud, which, I mean, this guy cannot pick up any type of momentum whatsoever. Toph, what do you think about this?
I don't care about this match at all.
Yeah.
I'll just predict Finn Balor.
Yeah. Bill, you did say that they're going to have a great match. I'm not so sure about that. I mean, will they have a good match? Yeah, I think both guys are pretty good workers, and they'll be able to put together a decent match, but I don't know if it's going to be great.
I think they made a mistake announcing that it was going to be Balor as the Demon. They should have just left it with that segment, Balor claiming he has a demon of his own.
Right. JCD, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Demon Balor's going to win, and Bill nailed it right on the head. Why? I mean, it was so disgustingly obvious. I mean, okay, that's fine, but why announce it? Why? Let Bray come out and, let that first part of the Finn entrance with, like, the white cloud start, and then have it go off, and then just have the red lights start flashing. It would mean so much more, So, but yeah, right. I got Finn going over, and Bray's just Bray at this point.
Yeah, I don't know what Bray does after this. I mean, the guy is he's such in this limbo of they want to push him, I think, and I think they want to dedicate time to him, but they just don't commit to it. I'm not sure what we'll have this discussion on another day. I think
Can I take 20 seconds?
Go for it.
What would have been a great idea to do with Bray? Can I take 20 seconds?
Go for it. Go.
Okay. So you have Bray Balor tomorrow night. All right. Balor wins as the Demon. Luke Harper and Eric Rowan haven't been doing anything on SmackDown.
Yes.
Why not have Harper and Rowan show up on Raw with Bray to start taking out Balor week after week after week? And if the Revival didn't get hurt, the two guys that would have been perfect to help out Balor would have been Gallows and Anderson. That would be how you get to the Balor Club.
Yeah, I like that. The only thing is I'm so sick of the constant reuniting of Wyatt and and everyone else. They do it every year or so, and it just never works, and they end up disbanding them again.
It's the only way to get to the Balor Club without having to turn Finn. I feel like that's, if you want to do it, you don't want to turn Finn because of merchandise, this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, you sacrifice the Wyatts to them, and then you know what? You figure it out the rest of the way what you're going to do with those guys. But let me tell you something. I don't know where Raw is in 2-3 weeks, but you know what? You got 2-3 weeks of Finn getting his ass kicked by the Wyatts and Gallows and Anderson, and that music hits, and they clear the ring, and then they too sweet. Wherever they are would you get a pop at that point? Possibly as big as Rollins and Ambrose Monday night.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, I definitely see it. The only thing, just a side note about Gallows and Anderson is, I don't watch Raw stop a full start to stop or start to end anymore. I just can't do it. I can't sit there for 3 hours and watch the entire show. So I remember a couple of weeks ago I was watching Raw. Anderson and Gallows came out, and they were baby faces, and they had the whole chant, and they had the nerds at the end, and the fans screamed nerds with them, and I was like, oh wow, I was like, oh cool, these guys are faces now. That's cool. I swear, the next week I watched again, and they come out and start berating the fans and start berating the people in the ring. I forget who it was. It's just so weird with those.
They faced the Revival. That's what it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's just so weird. But nonetheless, let's move on. Big Show and Big Cass with Enzo suspended in a shark cage. This shark cage is interesting. I don't see the fascination. I understand that it adds this level of, I don't know, danger or just an added wrinkle into the feud or into a match. JC, let's go to you first here. Big Show or Big Cass? I think the answer is pretty obvious here.
Big Cass, due to an Enzo quote-unquote miscue. And on a side note, did you guys hear the story as to why Enzo's going into the Shark Tank? It's because of heat, and they're doing this as a punishment because apparently he's deathly afraid of heights.
Ah, I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. This company is so petty sometimes. Oh. Toph, what do you got here?
I'm going to go with the Big Show.
Big Show, really? Care to elaborate on that?
No reason. Just picking the Big Show.
Right. Okay. Bill.
I definitely got to go with Big Cass. If anyone wants to even be bothered to look it up, if you check out the segment with Cass and Angle from a few weeks ago setting this up, it is just absolute shit brilliance. Like, it's hysterical. Like, Enzo always interferes. What do you want me to do? Put him in a shark cage or something?
Yeah, I will say Angle's pretty good in his role. I do like Angle in his GM role, and I think he's really good at it. I think if they didn't try to do this whole Jason Jordan angle, I think it'd be the best GM run of anyone, at least in the last couple of years. He's just really good. He has great timing. He has great comedic ability with everyone. Point there, Bill. I have Big Cass here. One thing I wanted to touch on really quick about this match is there's been the idea floated around that maybe Enzo cost Big Show the match and on purpose, and somehow they realign Cass and Enzo as a heel faction or heel group. Would that make any sense to any of you guys?
Nope.
No, nothing.
It would be the New Age Outlaws again. When they broke up the Outlaws in '99, they had their feud. Billy Gunn did his thing. He won King of the Ring. He had the feud with The Rock, and then he disappeared for about 3 weeks or so. And on like the second or third SmackDown, Rock and Foley were champions, and Road Dogg came out and said, "I'd like a shot. I have a partner." And Billy Gunn came out with him. No explanation, no nothing. And next thing you knew, the Outlaws were back together, and they were tag champs.
Hey, if they do that, I'll personally write like 5 things that makes Vince Russo the best booker ever. I'll write an article about that.
Oh, wow. You're going to have a tough time finding 5 things, I'll tell you that. Let's move on here. Randy, just a side note, JCD does have his kids with him, so just keep that in mind if you hear some children in the background. Let's see. Moving on.
Keep them as best
No, it's okay. It's all right. Let's move on here. Randy Orton and Rusev. This match is another kind of thrown together filler match. I think we can all agree Randy Orton probably gets the victory here. Any comments on this? No? All right, moving on.
I think Orton's going to take the win, but I think this is another test. We've seen since the brand split, at least. I can name a few different times where it's been like, okay, Orton is testing this guy so he can give a thumbs up to Vince. I think this is going to be Rusev's make or break If Orton is good with the guy, if Orton feels he's ready, then I think the sky's the limit for Rusev.
I'm not so sure about that. I think they already know what they think of Rusev. I think they already know like what. I think Vince already has a picture of what Rusev is, and I don't know if. I mean, you might be right. You might be right. Maybe Orton. Maybe this is a test for Rusev and to see if he can handle, I guess, a match with Randy Orton. I mean, I don't know. If anyone has any other thoughts on this, go ahead and.
I'm going Rusev.
Ooh, all right, JCD, you care to elaborate?
Yeah, I mean, it's the old school. You keep getting over. Eventually, you lose. And Orton so far has been getting over on Rusev a lot. And I think Rusev's going to catch him. So I'm not saying he's going to put him in the accolade and make him tap out. But I could see Rusev, like, catching Orton and, like, surprising the hell out of him with, like, a roll-up or something. And next thing you know, Rusev ends up winning.
Right. Yeah, I could see that. But the only reason I don't think that is because Orton has taken a lot of losses lately. And I just don't think Orton would be. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe he does want to take the pin for Rusev, but I'm going with Orton here. Toph, you got Orton here too?
Isn't Orton taking time off too?
Yeah, I got Orton.
I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything about that. Has anyone heard anything about that?
I haven't. I mean, they've been talking about Sheamus taking time off to film a movie, and they're the tag champions.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, moving on. Let's move on to WWE's SmackDown Women's Championship match, Naomi and Natalya. This feud has been, what's the word I'm looking for? Lackluster in some form, in my opinion. I'm going to go with Natty here because I think Naomi's had a great run. I think she's over. And all storyline reasons are that all storyline plot points have been pointing to Naomi retaining here, in my opinion. But I think Natty's been with the company for so long. I think they're going to give her this moment. I think she's going to be – this match is kind of lost in the shuffle anyway. I think they're going to just give Natty her moment. And I think Natty's going to win the title, and then she's going to kind of move on to feud with either Becky Lynch or Charlotte. And just before I hand it off to one of you guys, I just want to give Naomi a ton of props. I think she's had a great year with that title. I think she's really reinvented herself as far as being able to incorporate the whole glow thing, and her entrance is one of the highlights of SmackDown, and it's really good to see her kind of find her footing and finally get her opportunity to be a champion on some brand, or whether it's Raw or SmackDown. But I've got Natty going over here. Toph, what do you make of this?
Well, I think Naomi's going over, and not much else to say really. I think Naomi's going over, and I think any attempt of Carmella cashing in will be a failure. And if that happens, then that will be 2 failed Money in the Bank cash-ins. I feel that way because the point of Money in the Bank is to surprise you and to catch you off guard. That's the whole point of it. But every segment that Carmella appears in, whether it's a backstage segment, a promo, or whatever, she has to remind you that you're Money in the Bank. That, to me, tells me you're not going to cash in. Or when you do cash in, it's not going to work. I think James Ellsworth is going to cost her inadvertently. There's going to be some type of communication issue. I could see him doing something that might cost Carmella, because we all know that, when they do the next shakeup or whatever, they're going to put Big Cass and Carmella together. So they're going to have to give some explanation why Carmella wants to get rid of James Ellsworth for Big Cass. And, if Ellsworth was to accidentally cost Carmella, then I could see Carmella being like, I don't need you anymore. I already have my own man, blah, blah, blah. But I predict Naomi to go over. And last I heard, they are going to make like replica belts of that Shining Women's Championship or whatever. And as we know from John Cena with the spinner belt, that replica belt was, I thought the design was utterly trash. But hey, the kids liked it. And they kept it around for a long time because the kids liked that spinner belt. And from what I understand, the kids love Naomi's new flashing belt, and from what I've been told, it's one of the things that WWE has been contacted the most by, like parents and different toy companies. Like, hey, are we going to do a replica belt of this yet? Are we going to do a replica belt for it yet? So they're working on it. And you can't really make a replica belt and not have Naomi as champion. That's kind of her belt.
Right.
So, yeah, I think Naomi's going over here.
All right, JCD, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Naomi's going over as well. I also saw a report that said the plan is for her to carry the belt through the calendar year. And this always stood out to me as if you weren't going to do the match with Charlotte, which is the quote-unquote money match, and you know what, the way life played out, maybe it's a good thing they didn't do it. But, I mean, there's no reason for her to lose anytime soon, and you know, unless maybe it is going to be to Charlotte. I agree. I don't think Naomi's going to cash in. I forget who said it, but Ellsworth will end up screwing it up. And I think it was Chris that said it. When the next shakeup happens, Cass is going there, and Cass is going to murder Ellsworth.
All right, Bill. Bill, what do you think?
Yeah, my excuse me, my money is on Naomi. Absolutely, 100%. I would have. I mean, I spent weeks saying, well, Carmella's going to cash in at SummerSlam, so it doesn't matter who wins. Why else would Naomi get Natalya, of all people, to face? Natalya's horrible. Yeah, she's a great wrestler, but oh my God, I hate watching her.
I have a soft spot for Natty. I do. Natty's nice to us on Twitter, too, so I have a soft spot for her.
Yeah, I mean, I like her. I just like, as a personality in that ring, I can't stand her. I think she needs to take on the Bret Hart, Uncle Bret crybaby gimmick that Hart had in the Attitude Era.
The problem with Natty is she's not a heel. She's just not. She's too nice. Every time they do a segment with her backstage and like she enters the scene, she's always smiling and just there's something about Natty that just isn't heelish to me, and no matter how hard they try, she's just not a heel. I want to throw this idea out to you guys. I think what we might see here, and the reason why I ended up going with Natty here is I think Carmella's music hits maybe 6, 7, 8 minutes into the match. I don't think this match will go very long. Carmella starts to come toward the ring. Naomi gets distracted. I could easily see a roll-up victory here with Natty winning the title and costing Naomi the title. That's why I'm going with Natty here, and also because, like I said earlier, she's been with the company for so long. I think they throw her a bone. And moving on, Raw Women's title, Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks. Originally, this was supposed to be Bayley involved here. At least that seemed to be the plan. So what do we have here, fellas? Do we think Bliss retains or Banks wins the title? Bill, let's go to you first.
I think Bliss should retain. She's definitely on a streak, on a roll. She's one of the best in the company right now. With the injury of Bayley and Banks taking the spot, I'm going to have to put my money on Banks. I think they're going to shake that up a little bit just to extend the Banks-Bliss feud until Bayley's healed and Bayley's cleared to come back, and just kind of go from there.
Okay. JCD, what do you think?
I'm going to go Sasha because I want her to have a moment maybe on Raw with Bayley in the ring, and I want Bayley to belly her and just turn around and be like, you stole my spot. I want to see heel Bayley, man. I do.
Heel Bayley.
Yeah.
Wow. So you think if they end up going with Sasha and Bayley, that Bayley's going to be playing the heel?
This is perfect. This is perfect. The perfect way to do it. That was my spot, my time, my chance to redeem myself. And you took it from me. You took advantage because I was hurt. You know, like, yeah. I mean, if there's a way to do it, this is it, man. This is it. I mean, they probably won't, and of course, Bliss will probably win. And they could either do the opposite, where Bayley comes down to quote unquote help Sasha and cost her, and then Sasha will probably end up on Bailey. But, I mean, if you want to go different and maybe shake it up a little, that's the way I would go.
Okay, Toph?
I'm going to predict Sasha to win. Two other things. One, whatever decision they decide to do, whether Sasha wins or whether Alexa wins, the booking for the Raw Women's title has been atrocious this year. Whoever wins, they just need to just stick with that person until next year. Sasha's like a 3-time champion, and she hasn't had like a single successful title defense, which is stupid. So if Sasha wins, just have her be champion for the rest of the year. And if Alexa wins, then just stick with this goddess stuff and just have her be the champ for the rest of the year. No more of this, like, hot shot booking. And the other thing I got to say is I hate to like sound like a negative downer, but I really think fans should just let go of this Sasha Bailey bullshit. It's not happening. It's very clear. Vince does not see money in that match. He does not see money in that feud. And you can clearly see it in the booking. It's becoming kind of almost like a parody, because the worse the booking gets, I see fans try to rationalize it as a way of how this can lead to Sasha Bailey. And it's been going on like all year. And it's like, at what point do we just put our foot down and just say, you know what, maybe this just isn't cards on the table. Like Charlotte lost her streak before the pay-per-view, before WrestleMania. And so then fans were like, okay, so Bailey's going to win. And then Sasha's going to turn on her post-Mania Raw. But then Alexa Bliss showed up and basically cock-blocked that whole story. Then you have Alexa Bliss beat Bailey, and then you could have Sasha beat Alexa. And now fans are saying, oh, well, you can have Sasha win so Bailey can come back as a heel. Like, it's like no matter how bad the booking gets, I see fans try to, like, this is somehow going to lead to, like, Sasha versus Bailey, and I just don't see it. I'm not saying the match is not going to happen. I'm just convinced that Vince McMahon does not see money or potential in this feud. I don't think he sees it. That's just based off their booking. And I think didn't they have like a match on Raw for free? Didn't they do that like a few weeks ago?
I believe so. I think they did. Yeah, I think they did. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and they did like a triple threat too. It was like Sasha, Bailey, and some other person. Like if it was really a match, like for instance, look at SmackDown. AJ and Nakamura are like nowhere near each other. They had like that one tag match and that encounter in Money in the Bank. That's a protected match.
Was Sasha and AJ?
I think it was.
Say that again, JCD.
Wasn't it Dana Brooke or someone?
Wasn't it Bailey, Sasha, and the walking AIDS virus?
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, it absolutely was. I'm glad she doesn't have a match.
All right, moving on. Moving on here.
But no, real quick, Toph is right. As much as a heel Bailey versus a face Sasha could make money, it's not going to make as much money as Hugs. Bailey is the female John Cena. Those kids freaking love her, and they're going to keep pumping money into her. So Vince, why change it?
Yeah, This entire women's division, like Toph said, has been mishandled. And like I said earlier, when we were talking about the pre-show with who was I connecting that with? Oh, Jason Jordan. That I think a lot of the reason why Bailey has been received the way she's been received by the fans is just a lot of the booking has been terrible. And in NXT, you could not find anyone down there in Full Sail. And Bill, you know this for a fact. To boo Bailey. I mean, nobody booed Bailey in NXT, and to see that mainstream fans are booing her, and it really just goes to show how poorly handled this women's division has been, at least on Raw. And we talk about Raw and SmackDown all the time, and at least SmackDown's had a consistent champion, and they've stuck with Naomi for a good amount of time here. So. Let's move on to the Raw tag titles here. Cesaro and Sheamus versus Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. Ambrose and Rollins winning here. I think they take the titles, and I think they run with the storyline of the 2/3 of the Shield are back together. They're tag champions, and they are going to run, I think, into at least the fall as tag champions. I also am a little apprehensive about my pick as well, because I think, and the way, I'm trying to get into Vince McMahon's mind here, and I think the eventual storyline here is Dean Ambrose turning on Seth Rollins. And I don't know if they want to do that tonight, if they want to, or tomorrow night, if they want to have Ambrose just cost Seth these titles, or Ambrose walks away from Seth or something along those lines. If they want to start that feud now, I could easily see that. But I'm going to go with Rollins and Ambrose retaining the titles. Also, really quickly, as far as the storyline's concerned and how they've booked Ambrose and Rollins and the eventual reconnection of these two guys has been perfect. And I criticize how they've handled it, and that they waited a little too long or whatever. I don't think so. I think they paced it out perfectly. They teased it for weeks and weeks, and they finally did it, and the fans went nuts, and I loved it. The only question I have about if they end up going with a turn with Ambrose, the only question I have is, will an eventual Shield reunion, because we all know how much WWE loves Shield reunions, will an eventual Shield reunion be possible if you have Ambrose turn on him, and you kind of have where Seth is turned on them, Ambrose is turned on Seth. You kind of can't bring that group together again. I want to get your thoughts on all of that right there. Let's go to Toe first on this one.
I like this story. It's cool.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
one of my favorite stories in wrestling today, of any company. It's actual storytelling and continuity, which is really all I ask for in a wrestling company. So I could see them winning, and I could see them losing. Because even if they lose, at the end of the day, they still work together as a team and lost, which is still a solid story. But just based off the booking, and I think Bill mentioned earlier about Sheamus working on a movie. Yeah, I've heard about that for a while too. So I think Rollins and Ambrose will most likely win. And whether this leads to Ambrose turning heel or just them being a temporary face team, that works. Vince, he likes makeshift teams and stuff. To answer your question, though, could the Shield still be together if Ambrose turned heel? Yes, they could. But it could only work if all three of them had a common enemy, if that makes sense. I could see, like, Survivor Series later this year if they did, like, Team Raw versus Team SmackDown, and, like, 3 members of Team Raw could be the Shield. So
Right.
but it would have to be like a one-night only thing, sort of.
Yeah. And the other point I want to talk about, and we'll talk a little bit about this in the main event when we get to that, is, and I know, who was it? JCD, you wrote a whole piece on it, that you could possibly see a possible swerve maybe happening involving Ambrose, Rollins, and Reigns. Did you want to elaborate maybe on that?
Yeah, I mean, they would win. Obviously, there would be no turn, and then they would come out and help Roman win at the end, and then there you go. Now you've got the Shield back together, and now they're dominant, and they would probably be heels. But there's just way too many things that are out there now in the last 24 hours that, as good as that scenario could be, and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on it, I don't think it's going to happen. As far as the tag title match goes, if they win, it's going to be because they were together, which I think is the way they're going to go. The only way they lose, though, is if Ambrose turns. I don't think they lose a hard-fought match where, they were obviously united, but Sheamus and Cesaro, hooked the tights and got a 3. If they're losing, it's because Ambrose plants Rollins.
But do you have Ambrose and Rollins winning?
I have them winning. I think there's still a little more legs to this story, but if they're to lose, it's not going to be just because they lost.
Right. Bill, your thoughts?
My prediction is Ambrose and Rollins. Ambrose and Rollins there. And as everyone's talking about the Shield reunion and getting back together, it's akin to what Toph was just saying about Bayley and Sasha, the fans just keep, no matter how bad it gets, the fans just keep going, well, this could lead to Bayley Sasha, this could lead to Bayley Sasha, this could lead to Bayley Sasha. And it's just, we're all talking about it. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I have no doubt in my mind that Dean is going to eventually turn on Rollins and finally go heel. But I think it would be absolute brilliance if they reunited the Shield just so Dean Ambrose could turn on both of them.
Yeah. I don't know if that'll be brilliant. I mean, that would really I think Barclays would shit all over that. And
well, no,
I don't know.
Sunday, let it go for a few weeks. Let them have the titles for a run. Let them drop them with the Hardys. I mean, just
I
let
thought
it
you
go.
meant them reuniting at SummerSlam and then Dean turning on him after they've reunited.
I'd be cool with that too, but ultimately his turn is going to be either to cost them the tag titles or right after they already lose the tag titles.
Okay. All right. Well, we all have. Go ahead.
I would like to see something different. What if, like, they won the belts and still as champions, Ambrose turned on them? Like, they're still champions, you know what I mean? Like, two champions feuding with each other.
Cut it out, WCW.
No, I mean, that's similar to what Sheamus and Cesaro were doing. They hated each other. One was a face, one was a heel. This one's a little bit different because the story is just so intertwined. Their history is massive. But it'd be akin to that, having the face and the heel forced to team up because they have the titles.
Yeah, I've been watching some 2000 Nitro lately, and oh brother, I mean, oof.
Well, I was thinking more like Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, '97, but WCW did it too.
True.
All right, folks. Well, moving on here, the United States title: AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens with Shane McMahon as the special referee. Listen, I gotta just get something off my chest here. I'm so sick of Shane McMahon. It's just, I can't do it anymore. I cannot have Shane McMahon wrestle another match. And it's going to be against Kevin Owens, and it's going to be either at Survivor Series or before that or at WrestleMania. I just can't take another Shane McMahon feud. Everything always has to be about the McMahons, doesn't it? It always, everything that happens has to be about the McMahons. And I just am sick of Shane McMahon. I'm sick of his face involved in this storyline. You can just have AJ Styles and Kevin Owens go out there. Stipulation. You could have given it a cage. You could have given it
Rock.
A ladder match. You could have given it something. But you have to put Shane McMahon? I mean, come on. I mean, it's just,
Austin.
Oh, I just can't stand him. I can't stand him.
He's your Rock.
Blame Austin.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It's just something about Shane McMahon that I just can't do it anymore.
That's just how it is, man. I mean, Austin and Vince McMahon, that was gold, that was money, that was the highlight of everything. So that's how it is. McMahon's get involved. It's someone against McMahon at all times. That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately that's the case. JCD, what are your thoughts on Styles and Owens here?
Well, first things, let me welcome you to the dark side because you found your Rock. Now you know how I feel.
Yeah.
I think AJ's going to win. I think Shane's going to call it down the middle, but KO, there'll be something that Shane will miss by accident. KO's going to have AJ beat. And, in typical just face faction, Shane will miss it or maybe not call it, and KO will blame Shane. And my only thing is I can't wait to see how high Shane gets when KO throws him up for a pop-up powerbomb.
Yeah, that's.
Wait, whose turn is it?
Toph. Yeah, you.
Oh, yeah, sorry. AJ wins, and they need to end this feud. I like AJ, I like Owens, but dear God, man, they don't have good chemistry with each other. They just don't. And the fuck finishes make it even more apparent. So, but hey, 20-year anniversary, special guest referee, Shawn Michaels. That's why they're doing this. And I can't hate this feud because we got like an Attitude Era flashback for like 15 seconds. And I thought it was really funny when Shane wouldn't count 3 against Austin that one time. So, but yeah, AJ wins.
Yep. Well, I just really quickly, you mentioned something about the whole Attitude Era feel to this match, and I do get that to a sense. Can I just really quickly talk about how AJ Styles, just hear me out on this one. AJ Styles is considered probably what? Some people consider him the best in the world. Some people consider him at least one of, if not, like I said, the best in the world. So AJ Styles throws a punch, and Shane McMahon at, how old is he? 40, 45, 40, catches it like he's some kind of street fighter. Like he's this incredible world-class athlete that can catch AJ Styles' punch.
Well, remember, he almost killed Ted DiBiase Jr. with those horrible punches he threw.
Oh, those fucking ghost punches. Those ghost punches you're talking about.
How dare you question Shane McMahon?
I can't really put my finger on what it was about Shane, but in the Attitude Era and like the Ruthless Aggression Era, it just worked. And he would have matches of like Steve Blackman, The Big Show, Kane when he dropped the mask, and it just worked. I don't know why, but for some reason it just worked back then. But
you know why it worked back then? He wasn't 45 years old.
And he was actually trying to get somebody over. Come on, like what business did he have working with Shane? Like let's at the end of the day, let's put it in perspective. It was because Shane got Blackman over. Can you imagine AJ Styles' face after he had this incredible run in 2016? They sit him down and go, "Hey, McMahon at WrestleMania." And he's like, I bet he. Oh my God! We got to move on. What are your picks on this? I got AJ Styles going over here. Yeah,
Styles.
All right, everyone's got Styles here. Okay.
Yep.
All right, moving on here. Get my blood pressure down to a reasonable rate now. John Cena versus Baron Corbin. I know, Bill, you have your Baron Corbin T-shirt on right now.
I sure do.
You think this match is going to keep you calm?
Well, at least. All right, let's go to you first on this one. What are your thoughts on Cena and Corbin, and who do you have winning?
It's extremely interesting. Extremely, given the past week and this past week's SmackDown. Evidently, Corbin is being punished. I think Cena was set up to be the test for him to okay him to Vince if he's at that level where they could accept the cash in and let him be a champion, etc. Which evidently they've already soured on. I think Cena's still going to be a bit of a test. Evidently, Cena's word matters more than anyone else's out there, I'd imagine. But at this point, whether it's going to be a punishment, 6 minutes, Cena destroying him, whether they actually have a full, 12-minute match, I think Cena's going to go over either way at this point.
All right, Toph.
The Nexus curse will continue. Baron Corbin wins.
Okay. All right, JCD. All right, he might be away from his mic right now. I'll give my thoughts really quickly.
There he is.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, there you go. Go ahead, JCD.
I'm going to say, as much as I wanted to say now with the events of the last week, I'm going to say Cena, but I don't think that was always the plan. I'll leave it at that.
I agree.
I will second that, and I think, really quickly, just want to touch on this Baron Corbin thing is, he cashes in and he loses and he gets basically schoolboyed. I mean, if you think about cash-ins, at least with Cena, you had Cena, schedule that match, I think a week or two in advance. It was hyped up, and he lost a hard-fought match. With Sandow, you had Sandow, same thing, cash in with Cena. They had a long match. At least Sandow was given that. Got rolled up by.
But hang on a second. Can I address that? Can I address that part? Because
okay, go ahead.
I see everybody's harping on that.
Right.
But missing what happened right before that. He went after Cena, and Jinder snuck up and rolled him up. Now, I get the whole 5, 6, 7. I get that. But what everyone seems to be forgetting here is, you know, Jinder took advantage of an opportunity because Corbin got distracted by Cena. Now, if there's no heat on Corbin for social media or anything like that, Corbin now has the story of, you screwed me, and it's because of you I lost my opportunity. Now, that's a typical heel heat thing to say and do. And I would expect Corbin to have gone out and just physically murdered Cena. Even if Corbin would have lost by DQ, it would have just been Corbin snapping, end of days on the floor, deep six through the announce table, chair shots, everything, because of, quote-unquote, Corbin's rage. You know, that's what's getting lost in all this, is that it wasn't just like, you know, he was there and Jinder rolled him up and that was it. There was an interaction with Cena that led to it. And Cena had that look like, haha, I got you. So that, you know, I understand this might be a punishment for, you know, things on social media, but they still managed to leave the aspect of a story to take it into tomorrow night. And I think that's getting lost in all this.
Right. I don't disagree with that. I think at least I will agree that they have given this somewhat of a story with Cena. But my only thing is, and my point was that you have, you know, when we're talking about failed cash-ins, we have three, right, in total: Cena, Sandow, and Corbin. And when you look at all three of those, there's only one can be considered as ridiculous, because when you have somebody who, in Corbin, who they have seemed to want to push and put forward as a dominant, you know, big guy who they've given him new music and all this stuff, and he loses in 6 seconds to Jinder Mahal by roll up. I understand at least Cena did distract him and do all that, but it does go to show that really soured on him. I don't think they would have given up.
Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Let's say Corbin would have came out at 9:35 on Tuesday, announced he was cashing in, and him and Jinder go back and forth for 18 minutes, and then Cena gets on the apron. Same thing. Corbin takes a swing at him, and Jinder rolls him up. Is that really going to be any better for Corbin at that point? Take the social media. We still don't know what role that has played. I think we'll know tomorrow night what role that's played. But as of now, we're not, you know, there's no clarity on it. All the reports are possible reasons. But match with Jinder with the same ending be any better for Corbin?
I believe so. I think if you gave the fans, I think so. If you gave the fans a 15-minute match between Corbin and Jinder, and you let him at least give an effort, just schoolboyed and pinned, I understand what they were going for, and I understand, but I'm not buying the fact that this was all the plan all along and that they were going to do this anyway. I don't buy that. I think they are punishing him for something, whether it's social media, whether it's him blocking several WWE workers and staffers and superstars, going after Dave Meltzer, going after that veteran that he interacted with. A collaboration of all of that, and I think that he is being punished for something. Now, like you said, JCD, it's very possible that tomorrow night he goes out there and he has a 15, 20-minute match with John Cena, gives them as much as he possibly can, maybe either falls short or ends up picking up the victory. Then maybe, hey, that was the plan all along. But I just don't see it. I don't see how you have somebody, you invest so much into Baron Corbin, you have him win the Money in the Bank briefcase, you have him go on for weeks and weeks saying he's going to be the world champion, and now he loses to Jinder Mahal in 5 seconds via distraction roll-up. I just don't buy that.
Yeah, but 5 seconds or 18 minutes, the bottom line is you had all that build and the end result is the same, he's not Money in the Bank anymore.
Listen, no. Here's the bottom line, JCD, like all you guys. Whether it was an 18-minute match, whether it was 10 seconds, 5 seconds, what have you, he lost his cash-in. He failed his cash-in attempts. And while we're all excited and buzzing about this Universal title match, this Fatal 4-Way, what has the community, what has the IWC been talking about and debating and discussing and just this and that and everything more than Corbin losing? No matter how he lost, no matter what it was, he lost. We're all talking about it heading into the second biggest show of the year. We're all thinking, what's going to happen with him and Cena? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? That's brilliant. That's business right there. Whether it's a punishment or not, that's genius.
You're 1,000% right. You're 1,000% right.
Okay.
Whether it's good, bad,
listen,
talking about it.
I just think Cena's going to go over here, and I think it'll be 8 minutes at most, 10 minutes at most. And I think Baron Corbin would have been a lot better off if he didn't cash in and he still had the Money in the Bank briefcase, and he walked out there with the Money in the Bank briefcase, and he still presented as Mr. Money in the Bank. I think he would have been much better off that way.
Have you seen this other theory that's making the round? So something about Corbin's arm being under the rope or something that I don't know if it's people that are just hoping for a way out of this, but there's some.
Oh, yeah.
I saw it somewhere that said like Corbin's arm was under the rope, and a heel like Corbin would bring that up, that the match was called wrong, and then start like a briefcase back.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, that's definitely possible. I think we've spent way too much time on this match. I know that. I think it's time to move on.
That's what Vince wanted. That's what Vince wanted. He wants that hype behind it.
All right. So moving on here, WWE title, Jinder Mahal versus Shinsuke Nakamura. My thoughts are very clear on this, and I've said it in the group. I've said it in an article. I've said it everywhere. I will not accept anything less. Nakamura pinning Jinder Mahal clean 1, 2, 3. Period. I will not accept any type of distraction. I will not accept a DQ. I will not accept a countout. I want Nakamura pinning Jinder for the title. Period. End of story. Toph, let's go to you.
Wow, geez, you guys were talking about Baron for like 15 minutes. I was gonna die. Jeez. Yeah, Nakamura is going over. Some fans are joking, saying Cena buried Jinder and Corbin, and he didn't bury anybody. But what he did do is that what they did on SmackDown, it did Jinder no favors at all, because what basically happened to Jinder was he escaped 2 defeats in a time span of 5 minutes, and it makes him come off looking like a champion of circumstance. So Cena had you beat, and right when you were going to get pinned, Baron Corbin saves you. Then Baron Corbin cashes in on you, and then Cena basically indirectly helps you. So you've avoided 2 defeats, and that makes you not necessarily come off like a chicken shit heel, because Jinder is not a chicken shit heel, but it does not make him come off looking strong at all. It makes him come off looking very, very, very weak. Then you have Nakamura. You know, some people think his booking has been kind of weak. I won't go that far, but his booking has left a lot to be desired. But all that being said, though, they've protected him, and he's doing okay. You know, I don't believe Nakamura has lost, right?
He is undefeated.
There you go. So I see Jinder taking the loss tonight. Then.
All right, Bill.
Yeah, technically he's undefeated. He beat Corbin by a DQ, but that's neither here nor there. I gotta go with Jinder, man. Like, he's got the Singh brothers. Obviously, the Great Khali is not afraid to come back to help out. And I hate to keep bringing it up because I've mentioned it a lot in the past, and I've subdued myself from doing it lately. But Jinder is the second coming of JBL. JBL had his cabinet. Jinder has the Singh brothers. Nakamura is going to be fine if he takes a questionable loss in this.
All right, JCD.
Well, now that Corbin, sure, I think the issue is how do you book this match? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think he's walking out with the title. I could see Jinder getting DQ'd. I could see the Singh brothers doing something. I could see a count out, but I'm not sold Nakamura's walking out with the title.
All right. Well, I mean, I understand that, we can have some kind of screwy finish where we have Jinder and the Singh brothers cost Nakamura the match or whatever. I just think, looking at this Jinder Mahal thing so far, since the beginning, they have won me over in some respect as far as treating him like somewhat of a champion. He still has not had a great match. Someone point to a great Jinder Mahal match to me, and I will go watch it, but I have not seen one yet. His promos are still weak. His character is still weak. I don't see any way or any reason why they would choose Jinder Mahal over Shinsuke Nakamura in this setting at SummerSlam, giving Nakamura this big victory as the new world champion of your SmackDown brand. I think it's a no-brainer here.
Okay, let me.
He's Jack Swagger. That's what he is. Jack Swagger was an experiment. I know JCD was a really big Jack Swagger advocate. Jack Swagger was an experiment. Every now and then, WWE will go through these experimental things where they'll just all of a sudden they're suddenly obsessed with pushing someone. If Jinder loses at SummerSlam, if you're putting the belt on Nakamura, what they're basically saying is this experiment didn't work. Let's try something else. Bill compares him to JBL, but I don't even compare him to JBL because JBL at least was established. Jack Swagger was doing nothing. Jack Swagger was doing absolutely nothing. He was on the ECW brand. He was on Raw doing fuck all, and all of a sudden he's World Heavyweight Champion. At least JBL was Bradshaw. He was part of the APA, and he was over.
Right. Multiple-time tag team champion, somewhat legitimate.
Jinder was doing nothing, and now all of a sudden he's WWE champion. Like, Jinder wasn't even on the radar. Like WrestleMania wasn't even that long ago. Like pre-WrestleMania, Jinder was not even on the radar. Now all of a sudden he's champion. This is an experimental push. That's what it is.
Well, the experiment has failed. I will say it, and it's time to just move on to someone else. It's time to move on to something else, please. I'm begging you.
Listen, first off. The experimental push has failed. He's done nothing but wrestle Orton. Orton is a horrible face. He's a horrible good guy. Like, he's just shit. Like, he ruined the entire Bray Wyatt feud because he doesn't know how to work a mic. He's not a good guy. Second off, back to Jinder not having a good match and Jinder having shitty promos. What has Nakamura done? Yeah, he had a decent match with Cena to get that #1 contender shot. What good matches he had on the main roster since then? That's main roster, brother. Like, he's had fantastic matches in NXT. He's had amazing matches in New Japan. But he's just been subpar since coming to SmackDown. He hasn't done much. And the guy can't barely speak enough English to cut a 2-minute promo. Doesn't need to. Oh, but Jinder has to. Okay, gotcha.
Thanks for bringing that up, Bill. Thanks for bringing that up. I remember when Jinder won the championship, Bray Wyatt broke kayfabe on Twitter. That was hilarious.
That was awesome.
That was great.
All right. Well, who do we? I have Nakamura. Bill, who do you have here?
I got Jinder, brother.
All right. JCD?
I think he left for a second.
Okay. Toph, who do you have?
I got Nakamura.
All right. Nakamura. All right, main event time. Fatal 4-way for the Universal title. Brock Lesnar, Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman. This match is obviously the thing I'm most looking forward to. I think this match will be a total brawl. I think it'll be crazy. I think we'll see spots everywhere. I think we'll see a broken barricade spot. That's a given. I think we'll see a announce table spot. That's a given. I think we'll see a Titantron spot. I think that's a given. So I think we'll see a bunch of stuff here. I think it'll be fun. I think the fans of Brooklyn will love it. As far as a winner, before this past Monday, I was convinced that it was going to be either Samoa Joe or Braun Strowman. after this past Monday, I'm leaning toward Lesnar retaining. It seems like they want to have Lesnar retain and then work a Braun Strowman feud going into the next pay-per-view. So we'll see what happens there. Toph, your thoughts on the Fatal 4-Way and your pick?
I want nothing less than Lesnar taking the fall. I literally do not care who wins this match. I don't care if Roman wins. I don't care if Joe wins. I don't care if Strowman wins. Whoever wins, Lesnar takes the fall. It's time to give back. It's been 3 years. Okay? It's been 3 years. They've gained nothing from Lesnar's streak ending. Right now, Taker's streak ending is like that crazy movie. It's like that crazy moment in a movie. It's like crazy, but it makes no sense to the plot. Well, what is the point of giving Lesnar the streak if he hasn't lost yet? None of this improvisation. Oh, Lesnar hits an F5, then he's thrown out the ring and someone pins him. Or like 3 guys jump Lesnar and then like someone. No, like Lesnar either takes a spear, he gets choked out, or like Strowman kills him. Like 3 years is enough. Lesnar takes the pin or a submission. That's what I want to see. As far as who I think's going to win, I'm going to predict. I'm going to predict Joe to win.
Okay, Toph, let me ask you this: would you be okay with Lesnar winning here and then them working toward a Strowman feud where Strowman beats him clean?
Yes, that's fine. I just feel like at this point it's time for Lesnar to give back, and he hasn't given back at all, and I'm tired of it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Bill, your thoughts?
Yeah, excuse me. I completely agree with the Lesnar needs to give back. Taker gave to him. He needs to pay it forward, and he just hasn't because he doesn't give a shit, man. Like, it's obvious he doesn't care. What's this stipulation that if he loses the title, he's going to leave the WWE? Yeah, okay, cool, whatever. We all know that if he wants to go fight Jones, Vince will let him do that for a portion of the proceeds, so he'll still have all those paydays. With that said, this is the perfect out for Lesnar as the Universal Champion and still protect him, because that's evidently what they love doing. I'm all with Toph. It'd be cool if Lesnar took the fall, but I think they're going to protect him. Even if he loses, he's not going to take that fall. I think he's going to win, though. I think Lesnar's going to keep that title until Strowman takes it from him at WrestleMania.
Okay. Well, I mean, originally I was all for Samoa Joe or Braun Strowman winning the title. I think it would be great to see one of those two standing tall with the title at the end of the night, especially Strowman. I think the fans would go absolutely ballistic for it, and I would love to see a Braun Strowman title reign after SummerSlam and going into the fall. But just everything that has been going on, the way they booked this past Monday with Strowman and Lesnar being the main focus of the feud, basically with the pull apart and all that, it just seems like Lesnar is going to go over here, and it's interesting to see who's going to take the fall here. I'm leaning toward Joe. I think Joe's going to take the fall, unfortunately. JCD, if you're there, we'd love to get your thoughts on this.
I think Samoa Joe's ninjas got him.
They might have.
All right. Well, it looks like JC might be away for a little while. We'll catch his thoughts if he comes back a little later on. But that is SummerSlam. But we do have NXT to go over real quick. Let's start with the main event here for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. Bobby Roode versus Drew McIntyre for the NXT Championship. This feud has been lackluster for me. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of Drew McIntyre. I think he's good. I think he's got a lot of tools and he's really reinvented himself. But this feud is kind of just feels kind of put together to me, and it feels like I think we were talking about it off air. I think JCD was talking about it, or maybe it was you, Bill, that it just feels like McIntyre never really got any type of push or any type of build. He kind of we have Drew McIntyre. He's technically still undefeated in NXT. Let's put him in the main event. And then here we are. So it's interesting to say the least as far as why they decided to do that, why they didn't go with Roddy here, because Roddy seems to be the person that most people want to see in this match instead of Drew. Personally here, I don't want to spoil any of Bill's points here, but if the match stays Rude versus McIntyre, I'm going to go with Bobby Roode to retain. Bill, your thoughts and your prediction for this match.
Okay, let me start by saying if, and that is a massive if, this match is Rude McIntyre, Rude's going to retain. But I don't believe that's going to happen. I've been saying since, what was it, April, that they started those Roderick Strong promo vignettes? Whatever that was, I was like, oh yeah, Strong's going to take that title at Brooklyn. And it kept adding up and adding up and adding up. He's #1 contender. He got his title shot at a taping. I'm like, well, obviously no title's going to change hands on a taping. And he lost. But then Rude made it extremely personal by involving his wife and his child. Now, this is business. Even when Drew McIntyre got named #1 contender for Brooklyn for the title, I still kept with, no, that's not it. Strong's leaving Brooklyn with that title. And now here we are, the day of NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. This past week, we watched Strong and McIntyre fight that if Strong won, he got a future title shot against Rude. Bobby Roode interfered. There was no winner. I fully believe that Strong is going to go to William Regal. He's going to manipulate or talk or threaten. He's going to do whatever he needs to. He's going to get inserted into that match. It's going to be triple threat. Roderick Strong is leaving Brooklyn tonight with the NXT title.
All right. Well, I tend to agree with that. I think that is going to – I think it'll be knowing what's going to happen. Obviously, it's tough to say that you're going to just throw somebody into the match and now he's going to win the title and walk out champion. But, I mean, it all makes sense. It all ties together. It makes perfect sense. You can have Roddy go up to Regal and say, listen, if you don't put me in this match, I can't guarantee you I won't get involved. And Regal just says, you know what, Roddy, you've proven to me that you deserve it and you can be in the match, and he throws him into it, and Bobby Roode obviously is not happy with that, and Strong walks out champion. I could easily see that. Toph, your thoughts on this main event here?
It feels like DLC. Like nowadays when they release a video game and then post-release they give you content after the fact. That's what Drew versus Rude feels like. It feels like they DLC'd Drew into a title push. It was really strange because I don't watch NXT that much these days, but I knew they were pushing Roddy, and they were doing the segments giving you an idea of who Roddy was. So I was like, oh, that's cool. And then they blew it off on TV, and I was like, huh, okay. So I like Drew. I liked when he went to TNA, reinvented himself. I like his new look, but yeah, it's just not his time. It just feels weird. So if they added Roddy into the match and made it a triple threat, that wouldn't surprise me at all. So yeah,
I fully believe.
Oh, okay.
And Aaron, I think you mentioned this earlier about that #1 contenders match. I fully believe if Strong wasn't the end game tonight, then that #1 contenders match would have been McIntyre and Strong, not McIntyre and Killian Dane.
Yeah, I agree with that, definitely. It looked like JCD was back. I don't know if he's still here or not. JCD, are you there? No. All right. So let's move on to the women's championship match for NXT TakeOver, Asuka versus Ember Moon. And I know I'm sad that JCD is not with us right now to talk about this, because I know he would have much to say about it. As for me, I will not accept anything less than Asuka retaining here. I think Asuka, epitome of what a champion is. I think she's the epitome of how somebody like her should be booked. She has been undefeated. She has not lost. She is world champion for 500 days plus or whatever. She is just the epitome of everything a world champion should be booked and how they should be booked. And Ember Moon, and I know I'm going to steal some of your guys' talking points here, but just is not ready for it. She just hasn't connected with me. Better off the air before we came on. like, who is she? Like, what is Ember Moon? Is she this mysterious kind of enigma character, or is she just this girl who wears jeans and a t-shirt out to the ring? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what she is or who she is. They haven't really given us any backstory on how she has become this enigma or this mysterious character. In time for Asuka to lose the title here, and I think she should retain. It looks like JCD's back, so I'm going to throw it to him. JCD, your thoughts on this match?
I swear to God, if Ember beats Asuka tonight, there's a good chance I will burn the Barclays Center to the ground.
Wow, I did not hear that.
All right.
Now, all jokes aside, there is no way Ember is the one, and it comes down to one thing for me. We've talked about character development or lack thereof. We've talked about skill or lack thereof. The biggest thing for me, and we talked about this on air, off air, was why would you give away her hitting the Eclipse and laying out Asuka with it 2 weeks ago? Now that changes the whole story, because the whole story after Orlando was, if I could have hit the Eclipse, I know I could beat her. Now you hit it, you laid her out, you proved your point. Now the story has to be that Asuka can get out of it. And I think Asuka's going to win. I've said it for the longest time. I think Asuka will tie in more so to the Mae Young Classic winner, and I think that's where her reign will end. But I don't think I'm sorry. I don't see any reason why Asuka should lose tonight.
Yeah, I mean, me neither. I don't see it. I don't see how they can do that. Bill, what do you think?
I don't like either. Like, I love Ember Moon and Asuka's good, but I mean, we're talking about Ember, and I think it was JCD a few months ago back on Uncensored. We were talking about what has Ember done. She hasn't had that one defining moment, that defining match. But at the same time, after those call-ups, after beating Bayley and Nia Jax and half of the roster getting called to the main roster, what has Asuka really done? I mean, she had a decent three-way with Ruby Riott and Nikki Cross. Didn't involve Ember. She had a fantastic last woman standing match with Cross. Again, not involving Ember. I think Cross should have been the one in this position to take that title. But I think they already have their outcome. They know who's winning what. But I think if Sanity wins the tag titles tonight, then Asuka's going to retain her title. They're not going to change all the titles. And I think if they win the tag titles, Sanity is staying in NXT, which will give Cross a crack at Asuka and her title at the next TakeOver.
Look, Bill, I'm going to give you a chance to take it back. I'm going to give you a chance to take what you said back. Did you just ask us what Asuka has done to keep her title?
Yeah.
She's been undefeated and has held the title for 500 days.
Okay, yeah, and who she beat other than when she won from Bayley and Nia Jax?
Yeah, but she's beaten Cross, she's beaten Riott, she's beaten the Australian chicks. You know,
and who are they? Who are they? Like, I get NXT had to rebuild everything, but
hold on.
That's who's on the roster. You can't.
That's who's on the roster.
You can't turn around and hold it against her that the roster is what it is at this current time.
I understand that, but you guys are saying what has Ember Moon done? Like, well, what has Asuka done? She hasn't beaten.
But here's the thing, Bill. If you're going to build up somebody like Ember, and I said this to you guys then on Uncensored, Ember needed that win against, let's say, Nikki Cross. That, you just said it yourself. Cross should be the one to get the next shot. Cross is probably looked at as the second female in NXT behind Asuka. And that's fine. Where is that? What they should have done, and I know you can't control the injury, they should have had Asuka win in Orlando like they did, then have Asuka face somebody in Chicago, and have Ember face Cross in Chicago one-on-one and beat Cross. Then that would kind of legitimize Ember. They have not done that at all with Ember, and you can't hold it against Asuka that ever since the roster got shooken up, that all she's done is beaten who's ever down there. You can't hold that against her.
No, I'm not. I don't want to say I'm holding it against her. I don't want to sound like I'm holding it against her. But at the same time, it's just I don't know. She just hasn't impressed me over the past year. And I know that's not her fault. I know she had an amazing match with Bayley when she won the title. It was fantastic. But with those call-ups, the roster the way it was, I mean, they're rebuilding, but she just hasn't impressed me. I hope she keeps the title. I hope she wins. I hope she beats Ember. And I hope she gets into these guys that are now more established. Another match with Cross, some Ruby Riott. I think it'll be fantastic.
But I think the point is, Asuka's done more with what's left there than they've done with Ember what's left there, and that's the difference between the two.
You're right. I will definitely agree with that.
And here's another question here. If you take Asuka out of that division, what's that division? It's nothing.
That division,
it's Nikki.
That division is going to be Cross and Riott.
No, I think Asuka has single-handedly kept that division afloat, and she has been just another level of performance. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing it a different way than you, Bill, but just something about her just reeks of superstardom and legitimacy, and that's just how it comes across. Both. What do you think?
I mentioned it before with JCD. One of the worst parts about being a black wrestling fan is there's this idea we're just supposed to support any wrestler that's black. So when I saw Ember Moon the first time, it was just like okay, like what? Because she debuted at Takeover in Brooklyn last year, and I was just very underwhelmed by the debut. And I was like, okay, it's her first match. I'll give it time, And I checked up on NXT like every other month, and like nothing changed. And then I remember like when it really bothered me was when I checked up on her, like her first match with Asuka. I like looked at all her matches, and I was like, so what's her character again? And then like no one could tell me. I'm like, oh, so wait a minute, she has a match against the NXT Women's Champion, and she doesn't have a character. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you can't be in a title contention without having a character, And like, then she lost, and then I remember I watched the NXT episode after, whichever, because I don't really watch NXT like that. Whichever NXT it was where she lost, they did like this promo package of her like going to the arena where she lost, and the promo was horrible. She's got like no mic skills at all, like horrible. Like, jeez. I'm like, Jesus Christ, no wonder she doesn't talk. And then I hear about the Mae Young Classic, and I'm like, I'm sorry, she's just not the one. I'm sure she's very talented, and I'm sure that she has some magic that I've yet to see, but she's just not the person to end Asuka's streak. I feel like what NXT really lacks is this is just a really bad time for the women's division. I feel like NXT lacks that strong supporting female veteran. Like, it could really use a Gail Kim, a Mickie James, an Angelina Love, a Taryn Terrell, like that big name from like the 2010s, 2011s, like, like a knockout we haven't seen or something, like someone, or even Paige, because Paige, she was the NXT Women's Champion and she never lost. She had to forfeit it because she was the Divas Champ and was the Women's Champ. Like, if she came back and if it was like Paige versus Ember and like Ember beat her, that would solidify her. But yeah, man, she's got like no character. And then when someone explained to me that Ember's character was like she was a battle goddess, and I was like, okay, that doesn't really tell me anything. I've jokingly said before, she looks like a Lucha Underground reject. Like, if you look at like Pentagon Jr. or like Mil Mortez and you look at Ember Moon, she literally looks like she would fit right in Lucha Underground, like she's in the wrong promotion. It's like she was looking for Dario Cueto's temple, got lost, and somehow ended up at Full Sail. That's literally what Ember Moon looks like. I can't take her seriously. Just a complete disconnect to me. And then it's like when I run into people that like Ember Moon, I'm like, what do you like about her? And they're like, oh, well, she has a really cool finisher. I'm like, okay, what else do you like? And they don't have anything to say. It's just complete silence. I'm like, what is this? Like, how did someone with no character get to this point? Like, is that how bad the women's division is? And then lastly, to kind of end my rant, a friend of mine brought up to the point that he's noticed the women's division in NXT has not been as good since Dusty Rhodes passed away, which is something that I admittedly did not notice. And I was like, you know what? Dusty did play a big part with character development and promos down there. So that could be something to think of. But to answer your question, though, I'm going to predict Asuka to win. I don't believe, I mean, they could have Asuka lose to whoever the Mae Young Classic winner is, but I don't believe that they have a plan going forward on who they want Asuka to lose to. I think when Asuka finally does lose, it'll just be to who's most available and who makes sense at the time, if that makes sense. So if it makes sense for her to lose to the Mae Young Classic winner, then she'll lose to that. Or if someone like, I don't know, just being theoretical, like I'm hearing rumors of like they're going to do another shakeup after SummerSlam. So if they, for some reason, call Emma back down to NXT, and if she gets over, and if it just makes sense for Emma to do it, then they'll do it to Emma. Like, that's who I see Asuka losing to. I see Asuka losing to whoever makes sense at the time. And it's not Ember Moon. No offense to Ember Moon fans out there, but I'm predicting Asuka to win.
Yeah, and another point I wanted to bring up was, you have Asuka, who's just this ultimate badass and hasn't been defeated and champion for 500 days. If it wasn't Triple H running the show down there, see them just bringing her up undefeated, and I think that might be a possibility. I think you can just have Asuka come out one day on an NXT after a takeover or after the WrestleMania takeover and just say, I have beaten everyone here. There is no one else left for me. I'm moving up to the main roster, and then that requires her to just relinquish the title. Now, Triple H doesn't really always has, whenever somebody's going up, he always has them do the job on the way out. That's just the way he books things, which I'm okay with. I think that it's a way of giving back to NXT, which is fine with me. But Asuka, I mean, I would just have her go up undefeated, have her face, whoever is the champion on Raw or SmackDown. Have her maybe. And this is me way out in advance. I know she's not even with WWE yet. But Ronda Rousey, if you have her come into WWE and you want to do some big mega match, an undefeated Asuka versus a former UFC champion in Ronda Rousey, that's a huge money match there at WrestleMania. I just think if they don't have anybody to beat Asuka, I just don't buy into the idea of just whoever's there.
Do it to beat her.
Go ahead, JCD. Were you going to say something, JCD? Or
yeah, I said I agree with you. Don't do it for the sake of just doing it.
Right, and that's the whole point. Is if there's no one there to do it, and you don't feel like somebody can beat her and it be believable, then just she's undefeated and she moves up and that's it. I don't buy that she has to lose to move up to the main roster. So AOP, Authors of Pain versus Sanity for the tag titles. Bill, I don't know if you've been a fan of this feud. I think you were saying earlier that you've liked what's going on lately with the Sanity and AOP feud. What are your thoughts on this feud here?
Yeah, I'm glad Sanity is all back together. For a while there, Cross was doing her thing with Asuka and Ruby Riott, and she was getting over. The fans were starting to dig her, so they kept her away from the rest of Sanity. But now it seems like they're going to use Nikki Cross to dictate the rest of Sanity, which I'm fine with. So they're going to go against AOP. They got the band back together, if you will. I totally dig it. I love Wolf. Killian Dane, he's good. I love Eric Young. I love Nikki Cross. I'm looking at Sanity to finally dethrone AOP because, like I said a few months back, Heavy Machinery are going to be huge in Full Sail. They're going to be the ones that dethrone AOP, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They showed up at Full Sail. Nobody gave a shit. They did away with them. So I'm going to go with Sanity being the guys tonight.
It's sad with what happened to Heavy Machinery. I was on the same bandwagon. I thought they were going to get over huge in NXT, and they just did not. I don't know what it was, or I think a lot of it had to do with Tucker Knight, and I don't want to single him out But Dozovich was so cool. Like he was this compact guy, and I think he would have been better off maybe on his own. But yeah, that tag team has not panned out very well. As for AOP and Sanity, I've actually come a long way with AOP. At first, they were so green that I just couldn't really take watching one of their matches. But now they've come a long way. They've gotten a little bit better. Paul Ellering still does nothing for me. I'm sorry. I know he's a legend. I know he's a Hall of Famer. All this just does nothing for me. I think they'd be better off without him.
Agreed.
But as far as who wins this match, I'm not too sure. This is one that's kind of got me on both sides here. I think they want to put Sanity over, and I think they want to move forward with this group as a dominant stable in NXT. And I think they want to bring up the Authors of Pain. I think Vince might have watched an NXT episode or something, and they might want to bring up this group and put them on SmackDown, like we were talking about before with the lack of tag teams on SmackDown. I think that AOP would be perfect to bring up after SummerSlam and maybe feud with the New Day. I don't know if they're ready for it. Yeah, I don't know if they're ready for it. I don't know if they can handle the main roster yet, but I guess no one really is truly ever ready for the main roster. So
listen, if anyone could get them ready and teach them better than anyone else as far as tag teams go, it's going to be the New Day.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Just like Bliss when she came up, she learned a ton.
And where you guys need to remember, this is where the importance of Ellering comes into play. Okay, he may do nothing for you as a character, but look at what Ellering has done in the past. The LOD and big money matches, and when Ellering would have his stable. Ellering, character-wise, may not hold a lot of value, but for their development, he is immeasurable.
I agree with you on that. In that sense, I think he's probably helped AOP a lot as far as how to put a match together and how to act as big as this big stable as these two guys who look a lot like Animal and Hawk and work a little bit like them. And I think he's been helpful in that respect. And you might be right. He might be irreplaceable as far as them putting him on once they move up to the main roster. Toph, what are your thoughts on AOP and Sanity here?
Yeah, I've been very underwhelmed by both of these teams. I'm not really into either one of them, and I'm not convinced that either team is over. Sanity, in particular, doesn't really get any reaction unless Nikki Cross is with them. And if I recall correctly, at one of the takeovers, the fans were chanting bullshit at the Authors of Pain, which is rare because you rarely see fans hijack an NXT takeover show. So, yeah, this is like a coin toss of like who I care less about. So I'm going to go ahead and predict Sanity to win just because they got the man advantage. Like they got more shenanigans. You can have Nikki distract the ref or EY do something. But yeah, these teams do nothing for me. Hopefully they get better booking afterwards because they've done nothing for me so far. Just kind of there.
It also is a interesting feud as far as both of these stables or both of these teams are. So it's been interesting how they've been booking it and the way they've gone about it. But for me, I just think Authors of Pain retain, and I think I just don't know if they pull the trigger on the Authors of Pain yet to go up to the main roster. So that's why I have the Authors of Pain here. Moving on here, Johnny Gargano versus Andrade Cien Almas. This match has kind of been, I don't want to say thrown together. They've given it some kind of build, at least a little bit. Gargano coming back from his injury. No Tommaso Ciampa. Do we think we get a Tommaso Ciampa sighting here? Do you think he costs Gargano this match, or do you think he's probably not even close to being? Yeah, I didn't think so either. But I was thinking maybe they do some sort of interferes and then goes away again. And every time Gargano has a big match, Ciampa somehow finds a way to cost him that match, and they continue to tell that storyline.
Yeah, but are you going to do that for like 7 months?
I could see Ciampa in the crowd. And
right.
Gargano will beat Almas, and as Gargano celebrating, you'll see Ciampa stand up and Gargano just get like frozen faced. And I could see them doing that for a little bit where, Ciampa's everywhere. Just when you think you're going to have this good moment, here I am to remind you. And then eventually, when Ciampa's ready, you'll see Ciampa get physical. But I would not be surprised if Ciampa's sitting in that crowd during that match tonight.
Okay, all right. Bill, what do you think about this match here?
I think it's going to be Almas, even though they have somehow managed to successfully build a character around losses, and he doesn't care if he wins or loses, etc. But bringing in what's her name? What was she? Trinity in TNA,
right? I think so.
Yeah. So bringing her in as the valet, they've created this whole new story, this whole new dynamic for him. They haven't done much for this feud. Johnny Gargano has just come back. He's just kind of biding his time, I'd imagine, until Ciampa's ready to return. I fully believe, though, based on what I've seen these past few weeks with Almas and his manager, his valet, I think they're going to continue that story, and I think he's going to pick up the win with her help.
All right, JCD.
Oh no, I got Gargano.
Gargano.
Like I said, I think Gargano's going to win, and then Ciampa will stand up from the second row, and Gargano will see him and get froze face. And I mean, I get the whole thing that they're trying to rebuild Almas, but I think part of it with Almas is the fact that he doesn't can. She's trying to break him of that. I think he's got to lose a little more before he finally gets with her, idea for him, her program.
I can see that. I can get behind that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Toph, what do you think?
I'm going with Almas.
All right. All right, moving on. Next, the last match of this card here, Aleister Black versus Hideo Itami. I've actually really liked this pairing. I think these two will put together a pretty good match. I think this will probably open the show. And I think Aleister Black has really solidified himself for me as far as character. I think his entrance is just absolute money, and I think he'll get over huge on the main roster whenever they decide to bring him up. But as far as Hideo Itami's concerned, I don't know where they go with him. It seems like he's probably going to just act and go back to Japan afterwards, because it just really hasn't worked out for him. And it really just hasn't been his fault either. It's been just injury after injury. And Nakamura seemed to have taken his spot as far as the one he's wrestler, and he was kind of just lost in the shuffle and just injury after injury. But I think Black picks up the victory here. But I think it's going to be a hard-fought match. I think they're going to give this match a solid 15 minutes and have them really go back and forth. But I think Black ends up winning the match here. Toph, what do you think?
I'm not sure what direction they're going to go in this match. It could go either way. I do agree, though, that WWE is not for everyone, and it hasn't worked out for Kenta thus far. To turn him heel just for him to lose would be kind of head-scratching. But you're building Aleister as well, so you just can't have him lose either unless it means something. So, yeah, this is probably one of the harder matches to call. So, but if I had to pick one, I'll pick Aleister to go over here.
All right, Bill?
Yeah, I got to go with Black. I don't think Aleister Black's going to take his first loss to a heel, to a Hideo Itami, to someone who, and you're absolutely right, Aaron. It feels like, it looks like it. I fully expect him to go back to Japan, New Japan, etc. Once his contract's up. It is what it is. It's not his fault. He's extremely talented. But I don't see Black taking his first loss to Hideo Itami, especially not at a takeover, especially not the biggest takeover of the year. But I also heard reports, though, man. I don't know if you saw that Black is supposed to have some sort of crazy, huge entrance this tonight.
Huh. Well, that would be absolutely awesome, and I don't know how much awesomer his entrance can get, but I'm sure WWE can find a way to do that. And I do know that the people who sing the the theme song for NXT are set to make I think they're making are going to be performing, which is interesting. This is the first time I think NXT has done something like this, so it'll be interesting. And I do like that some of their music. I actually listen to some of their music, so I think their name is Code Orange or something along those lines. But yeah, that's interesting, and I think we all have Aleister Black going over here. JCD, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't see any reason for Black to lose here to Itami. Yeah, I think it's going to be Black. To me, the only question is what's going to be the bigger squash this weekend? Black over Itami or Cena over Corbin?
That's the thing, though. I don't see this being a squash.
No.
I think they have a solid 15-minute match. You don't think so?
Nah, I think this is going to be – I think especially if Itami's on his way out and you know, everything seems to point that way. The way his heel is being presented, like the way he went after Hero, and then the way he tried to go after Black and then cowered off, they're going to literally make Itami just a chicken shit little attempt to be a bully, but is always going to get his ass kicked heel. I hope I'm wrong because I really do like Itami, but I could see that's where it's going. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the shortest match of the weekend.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, maybe short. No, I disagree, man. I completely disagree. Hideo is that professional, man. Even if he's going to leave, he's still going to put on that match. And they've learned. I look at Black and I've watched his matches, and I see they've learned a lot when they did everything with Baron Corbin of these, 10-second, 20-second, 30, 40-minute matches, etc. The fans grew tired of it, so they've constantly been giving Aleister Black bigger, tougher opponents, longer matches, etc. And I think Itami's going to be no exception to that.
You know what it is, Bill? You know what it is? I think part of it's going to be how much time, especially if things are going to get crazy with Roddy, I think time is going to have to get cut somewhere. And you've got the musical performance. You're going to have these elaborate entrances. And I know they'll go probably 2.5 hours tonight, but something's gonna have to get cut along the way, and I could see it being this, because not that this match doesn't mean anything, but with everything else on this card, there's something potentially there. This is just there, and you know what? What do you cut? Something with meaning, or just something that's there? You cut from what's just there, and that's why I think it could be. It could be quick and it could be one-sided. That's
true, but they could also do that from Almas and Gargano.
Yeah, but that could easily. There.
Yeah, I know, but that like if it went down the way you are saying it should go down, and I really dig that idea, by the way. But that could easily be a 5-minute match. Gargano wins, he celebrates, and sees Ciampa. That could easily be a 5-minute match. I hope it's not, but it could.
It also goes into the storyline of Almas constantly losing, and if he loses in 5-6 minutes, it enhances that storyline too.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so I mean that could always be cut as well, but we'll see. We'll definitely see tonight here in a few hours.
Exactly. All right, and then that's basically the card. It's only 5 matches. One thing I did want to touch on before we split here is that we always see a face in the crowd for NXT TakeOver. It's already kind of been spoiled on social media. But it looks like it's going to be Adam Cole. Anyone else think we're going to see Adam Cole, or do we think we're going to see somebody else?
Excuse me? I'm sorry. Who did you say?
Adam Cole.
Baby. I'm sorry. Who? Wait, what? Who did you say?
Adam Cole. Baby.
Okay. Adam Cole, baby.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think it's about who we see on camera, which it's going to be Cole. I think the bigger story, and Chris knows where I'm going with this, is because the last 2 takeovers, Okada's been backstage, and I think we're finally getting to that point where he shows up at a show again. They may not let him leave.
Don't start me on that again.
I hope Cole's not in the crowd. I hope they don't just randomly show him sitting front row as
I think it's going to be somebody else. I think Cole is obviously a part of the brand.
I don't want.
but I could see them.
I've already joked about this
Like,
with JCD, man. If Kota Ibushi shows up again, Triple H is gonna put him over a shark cage
It's just
with barracudas, and he's gonna force Kota to sign the contract.
I just like I want Adam Cole to get involved. Like whoever it is, Adam Cole. I don't show me them sitting there front row for 10 seconds. Like you do that every takeover. Like. Do something bigger with him.
I love
like
that.
have him
That's like
debut.
the
Have
best.
him come out. Have him show up.
I just think that's one of the best parts about the show.
Have Adam Cole help Roderick Strong win the title.
Hang on. Exactly. Cole, Strong, O'Reilly, and Fish are in New York. Do you pull the trigger on that ROH faction we were talking about yesterday?
I would. Absolutely, I would.
I didn't even think of that. Wow. All right.
Absolutely. Now that they got O'Reilly and Fish, absolutely do it.
Okay. Well, we have our picks and our predictions, and that just about does it. Anyone else have anything else to say before we hop off this?
Yeah, I got one thing to say. Fuck the Revival.
Perfect. We're going to end on that.
No, we're not.
Okay.
We are going to end with la 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 la. Fuck the Rock.
All right. Sounds good. Okay. All right. So that is
what
that
JTD
is
is cooking.
All right. Well, that is everything. So that just about does it here. We're gonna jump off here and finish this up. Thanks for tuning in, for those who did, and make sure you go to pwpnation.com, at PWP Nation on Twitter. I will be live tweeting Takeover tonight. PWP Nation on Facebook, all that stuff. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.